A 21 millimeter throw, 4,500 RPMs, and a 30-foot reach. That's the Bigfoot Mark III from Rupes. We'll dig into the details in just a moment. I'm Tim Johnson. You're watching Shop Tool Reviews. Now, if you're a car detailing pro, the Rupes name is probably not news to you. Now, the Bigfoot Mark III has been out for about a year now, but really hasn't made its way into the hands of everyone just yet. Now, we've actually had this for a couple of months. It is an upper end machine. Before we kind of put our stamp on it, we really wanted to give it some run time. We actually wanted to use it for a while, and you can see by the machine, usually we like to clean these things up when it's going on camera so it looks really nice and shiny and pretty, but it's just been used too much. It really has to look that pretty anymore. So you see this machine has been used for months. You can see the backing plate's got some wear, some color on it. You can see the machine's got polish all over it, and that's after a good cleanup. The machine's worked very well. There's been no problems whatsoever. It's even got the same backing plate that it actually came with. Again, it's the Bigfoot Mark III. The actual model number is LHR21 and then Roman numeral 3 is the product number. And basically that is the 21 millimeter throw, and Mark III is kind of the version of this machine. Now, a couple of the things that stand out on the version 3 or the Mark III of this machine, one of them is the actual rubber overmolded handle here on the end. This used to be just plastic and just didn't have a good feel out there. Now it's got a very good feel. It kind of gives you that soft touch, if you will, where you can hold on to it. Doesn't matter whether you've got a glove on or not. You're going to be able to handle this a lot better now with that rubber overmold, and just quite frankly, it feels better. It's probably also going to reduce some of the vibration as well that you're typically going to be feeling when you're actually polishing. Now, another subtle feature is the fact that now you have two rubber feet here. So you see the white rubber extrusions here on the top of the machine, so that when you flip this over, you can set this on a metal surface, you can set it on a car panel, car hood, car trunk, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's also not going to mar the surface or damage the paint. So it's not sitting on any plastic, and it's not just one that's going to hold it in place. There's two now, so it's going to keep that machine kind of from going anywhere, from sliding anywhere, as well as, more importantly, you're not going to be scratching anything. And they're nice and wide as well, so you can see there, it's going to sit very well. It's not just going to fall over if you just kind of look at it wrong. Another thing is the same rubber overmolding you're seeing here into the handle, into the trigger as well, and I'll get more into the trigger in just a moment, but you get a very good grip here. I would say it's an excellent grip. You don't feel any, wherever you grab this, your finger kind of sticks to it. It's got nice ridges here as well as the rubber overmolding there. And that's important to me. I like a good trigger feel on all my power tools. And then, as we mentioned, the 21 is giving us basically the throw. That's the orbit. So again, if you're not new to random orbitals, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But basically, our orbit here is 21 millimeters. I'm going to give you a little trick here on remembering how big is 21 millimeters. If you're like me and kind of grew up on the SAE or standard version of things here in the US, I have trouble remembering kind of what that metric conversion is. So if you're tool-minded, kind of like me, then I remember that my 13 millimeter socket is the same size as my half-inch socket. So I know every 13 millimeters is a half-inch. So 13 millimeter, obviously, in here, so it's more than a half-inch, and then 8 more, that's a little more than half the 13 millimeters, so somewhere around 3/4 of an inch, and it's actually 13/16 of an inch. So maybe that math makes no sense to you whatsoever, but I was just letting you know how I kind of figure that's how my brain works, but that's probably tougher than just remembering the metric conversion. So anyway, the 21 millimeter orbit, 13/16. That's pretty much the biggest you're going to see in a tool, in a random orbital polisher. So that's your orbit here. So that's kind of the orbit rotations that it's doing. And then also you're going to have your axis, or your spinning, your rotary motion as well, which is it's not a fixed, it's a random orbital, so that's going to turn as there's, pressure freed up, as you will. And you always want to be, when you're polishing, by the way, you always want some rotation going on. That's going to counteract just putting those pigtails in there and making sure you don't have those curly cues on your paint when you get done, or something else you've got to polish out. Now, you can run a handle on this machine, whether you're wanting to run a D handle, whether you're wanting to run a side handle. Most of the guys you'll see that they're just using it as you see it here, where they're gripping the end of it and then holding the trigger here. So let's talk about the trigger. So what we have is we have 6 speeds here on a speed dial, and we have a variable speed trigger. Now this is great for a couple of reasons. Number one, the speed dial, we can set our max RPM. So if we want to be very delicate, maybe we want to set it on 3, which by the way, I say a 6-speed dial, it's really an 11-speed dial because there's actually a D10 in here and you can feel a positive stop each time, and it's at every half speed. So you basically get 6 numbers on the dial, there's not a half before one, so you get 11 speeds there. So you can stop at 3.5, 4, 4.5, and so forth. So again, if you want to put it on something delicate, you know, hey, it doesn't matter if I pull the trigger wide open, it's never going to go above speed, you know, 3.5 or 4, whatever I have it set on. So the speed dial is going to set your max RPM. Then the variable speed trigger is going to allow you to actually vary that RPM within that range. So you can see right here on the top of the machine, it actually gives us a good indicator of these different speeds as to what RPM that actually equates to, and it's from 3,000 up to 4,500 RPMs. And like I said, you got half stops in there as well, so actually a little more than what it's actually showing here. Now here's how I would think you should use this, or here's how we use this machine. So wherever you can, you know, if you're on a small area or a delicate area, you may just be pulling the trigger and varying that speed as you need it. However, you get in that big open space, you're on a flat panel, you're on a hood, you're on a trunk, something like that, use that trigger lock. So pull it down, hit that trigger lock, then use your hands for guiding that. So there you go. So I'm going to pull the trigger all the way down, push the trigger lock in. So now that trigger's locked down. So now I'm at max speed at 4, okay? So I'm doing my polishing, I'm working the panel. Well, let's say I get to a ridge, I get to the edge, or I'm maybe there's a hump on the hood, something. We're going to kind of take our time around a mirror or what have you. Now all I have to do is grab that throttle, grab that trigger, and you see that actually pops out now. And so now I can vary that RPM, and I can work delicately around those edges, around those peaks, or around, you know, some window trim, whatever it is that I need to be delicate around. And then again, once I get to a flat spot, I can pull that trigger and push that trigger lock. So that works very well to do that. And so I like seeing the speed dial, and I also like seeing those half stops in there with a positive detent. So I don't have to look at it. If I know I'm on 4 and I say, you know what, I want a little more speed here, I can push that a half a click and I can feel that. And there's also ridges in that speed dial as well. And again, I may have that held wide open on the trigger, but I give me that little extra half speed, and then I can keep working that. I don't have to look down to actually see it to know that I've gone you know, a half a step or a full step if I want to or if I need to. Another thing is this tool comes with a 30-foot cord. Not really, it's 9 meters, but I'm going to let you do that conversion this time. So right at 30 feet of cord. So, I mean, you can wrap this thing around the car if you want to. No, it's really nice that you know you don't really have to have an extension cord with this machine. So you're close to a power outlet, you're going to get, you know, full use around that vehicle without having to have an extension cord if you don't want to. So that's really nice that the cord comes with that. It's a very soft cord, nice and pliable. They even give you the little holder here as well if you get the kit. So one thing about this is with Rupes, you pretty much got to run their backing plate. And also this comes with a 6-inch backing plate. Now, a lot of the industry, or a lot of the guys in the industry, have really gone to 5-inch pads again and kind of gone step back down from 6-inch. 6-inch was kind of a big thing for a long time, but now people are trying to, or not trying, now people seem to be going to a 5-inch as kind of that standard. I don't know if it's because, you know, you don't have a lot of huge flat panels anymore, but anyway, guys are going back down to a 5-inch pad. So you need to change out this backing plate. Well, for the Rupes backing plate, you're going to spend about 35 bucks, maybe even 40. So again, not a huge deal, but just want you to know you're not going to run somebody else's backing plate. You're going to have to get a Rupes backing plate, and that's going to run you about $35. Now, as far as any drawbacks on this machine or any problems, we really didn't run into any. Like I mentioned, same backing plate that's been on it for months. It's worked very well as far as the motor, you know, seamless, no problems whatsoever. Trigger pull is really nice on this, as well as, like I mentioned, the speed dial, how much I like that as well. We put this in the hands of Michael's Auto Detailing, Chase over there, kind of our go-to when it comes to detailing. Been around the industry for, between the two of them for decades. So they know how to handle these tools, and really impressed with it as well, again, after months of use. One thing about it, price tag. So the bare tool, so as you see it right here, if you were to buy this, or if you were to buy the LHR21, you're probably going to spend about $500, somewhere between $460 and $500. Now, if you buy their kit, it comes with a bag, comes with some different polishes, some pads. They have a really nice kit, actually, with a cleanup brush and all sorts of little things. That's a really nice kit, but that's going to cost you about $600. So again, you're kind of setting out a few hundred bills when you're wanting to buy the new Bigfoot Mark III. Is it worth it? Absolutely, if that's what you're looking for. If you're more value conscious, then you may not be able to take that bite just yet. But as far as, does the tool live up to its name? Yeah, it does. It's done very well. Now, you can also get this in the LHR15, which is the smaller orbit, so a little more than a ½ inch of an orbit. So you can get the LHR15, you can get the LHR21 as far as in the Mark III, and then you can get some of the older model numbers as well. But as far as the Mark III, that's what you're going at, is the LHR21, the LHR15. So we'll put a link of this tool in the description. Also check them out at rupesusa.com. If you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you can be notified when we make new videos and you can watch them. All of them, please. Anyway, have a great day. Go out and do something nice for someone. Take care.